All right, so with our binge eating disorder, or it was formerly known as compulsive overeating, um, this is those binge eating episodes that we talked about with bulimia nervosa, but no purging. This occurs in about 30 to 50% of subjects that are in weight control programs, and this is definitely more common with males. Obviously, we're going to see this with obese individuals because they're consuming an excessive amount of calories. They're typically not preoccupied with their body shape, and many of them do have clinical depression. The profile of someone with binge eating disorder is they consider themselves hungrier than a normal person. They isolate themselves to eat large quantities, and their binge is triggered by stress, depression, anxiety, loneliness, anger, frustration, and they're usually going to binge on those favorite foods like fast foods and junk foods. They're eating without regard to biological needs. So this is where some people will wake up in the middle of the night and go and eat a large quantity of food. So treatment here, again, a multidisciplinary approach, avoiding restrictive diets, learning to eat in moderation. Easier said than done, right? So this is definitely a labor of love. Next, we have the female athlete triad, and your book goes on further to discuss not only the female athlete triad, but the relative energy deficiency in sport, or RED-S, and that's on page 167. Why the change in terminology from female athlete triad to RED-S was because we're starting to see more males suffering from disordered eating and tendencies in athletics. So with female athletes, we see a prevalence of eating disorders at about 15 to 62%. And it's the sports that emphasize leanness. So dancing, gymnastics, swimming, ice skating, running, cheerleading, that type of thing. And there's a lot of nutrition misinformation from coaches, judges, and then their peers. Okay. So the triad is the one, disordered eating, the loss of the menstrual period, and then osteoporosis. So oftentimes this is, if you think about the body shape of a competitive gymnast, they are usually very short in stature, very slim, very muscular, and oftentimes they'll meet the requirement for this female athlete triad. And certainly there's a lot of initiatives now to decrease this and to bring more attention to it, but it certainly still is prevalent. So treatment here is identifying and managing the problem. We need to educate coaches, judges, peers, athletes, and we need to look for those signs of disordered eating or obsession with body image, maintaining records of amenorrhea, and then the whole sports medicine awareness team. Treatment also, a slight reduction in training, making sure they're getting adequate sleep, managing stress, and getting adequate calcium and just overall intake. So prevention with eating disorders, or prevention of eating disorder, your book has a nice wrap up in terms of how to recommend that families and loved ones, how they can set the stage for healthy eating through a lifetime. So remember, some concern about what we eat and our health is normal. And we do have variation in food consumption. For instance, we all probably eat a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables in the summertime when it's more available to us. We want to discourage restrictive diets, skipping meals, fasting, and then talk openly with your clients about normal body changes of puberty. And carefully phrase weight-related recommendations and comments. Parents, grandparents, friends, relatives, teachers, they don't need to comment on weight, and because oftentimes that can be the trigger that causes someone to have some disordered eating habits. And then also here's some other tips for working with that population. We're looking at some references. You all are doing your eating disorder book report, so you'll get some references there.